Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. At our top story today, we're talking financial wellness and the science behind the art of the customer experience. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Sharon Scanlon is Senior Vice President and Head of Customer Experience and Producer Solutions for Lincoln Financial Group. Sharon, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. And again, we're going to continue this conversation about financial wellness. And let's talk about your experience, Lincoln's experience, as it kind of seeks to survey and understand what both individuals and their employers are thinking about financial wellness. What can you tell us? What are they thinking?
Well, there's really good news, and then there's some troubling trends that we'll review here today. So the good news is half of participants contributed at least 10% to their retirement plan, and a third contributed 15%. On the other hand, we saw loan and withdrawal activity on a slight uptick from the prior year, where we're seeing 1 in 6 participants, about 17%, took a loan or withdrawal in 2020. And debt has definitely become more of a problem, with 30% of workers taking on significantly more debt. And it's really a tale of two cities, Jeff, where we're seeing this K-shaped recovery from the fallout of the pandemic. 8 in 10 of our surveyants said that they reevaluated some aspect of their life. And it reaffirms that financial wellness is more important now than ever.
Let's shift gears, and I want to talk about financial wellness because our industry, the financial services industry, filled with a lot of jargon, beta, alpha, returns. Is financial wellness just another buzzword?
No, because I think folks can resonate with the concept of financial wellness. Where it differentiates or personalizes to the individual is there are different challenges that they face. So it's really important to build interactive and personalized tools that are data-driven, and to create accountability. And there's also a science behind the art of customer experience that we'll talk about in a little bit. And financial wellness is not just about retirement savings. 86% of employees are interested in help planning for their healthcare expenses in retirement. That's an important part of your retirement income story.
You know, you mentioned data, and I want to just ask more broadly, generally, how do you incorporate the data that you have, and you have thousands of plans, probably millions of participants. How do you incorporate that data into more personalized experience?
So we have a dedicated data marketing analytics team on my customer experience team, and they focus in on data for all of our customers, whether it's the plan sponsor, the participant, and even the financial professionals. And we really began this journey back in 2016, where we needed to drive outcomes for the participant experience. And we implemented reporting to measure the digital connection. So we can track the journey of that individual participant to determine what's working and what isn't working. In addition to that, voice of the customer, it's an iterative process, and we learn a lot through that. We learn about what's working and things that we need to tweak to have a more effective experience. One example early on that we learned through Voice of the Customer is a feature we've had in place for quite some time called Click to Contribute. It's like the Staples Easy button. And when we first did usability testing, let's say you're at 5%, it had +1, +3, +5, and other. And 88% were going to other, and we couldn't figure it out. So we had a hypothesis, and we did the math. So instead of +1, +3, +5, we had 5, 7, and 9. And sure enough, 85% used the easy button and 80% picked the one in the middle. So we know it works. And it's important, not just what our customers say, but actually really going out to the end customer and understand what's going to resonate and how we're going to drive outcomes.
I mean, it's a perfect metaphor, perfect example. You hit that button, it makes life so much easier. It doesn't have to be that complicated. But as you said earlier, you know, this isn't just about retirement now. Financial wellness isn't about retirement. There are a lot of things that are baked into this. There's emergency savings, mental health, student loans, student debt, personal debt, right? It all kind of fits together.
It does. And interestingly enough, the employers, they're coming to us. They're demanding those solutions from the retirement plan services market because we're the best equipped to have that financial wellness conversation. But having the employer involved is the most critical part of successful programs. So we get those questions. Well, how can we successfully launch a program? Well, we need you involved. We need your voice in this equation. And then how you engage employees is also through having the employer involved, even having it come out from the employer's email, and then driving them to the tools. And if they have a retirement consultant, driving them to have the ability to set up a meeting right then and there. I can give you some stats on what a successful launch looks like, because when you deal in the online tool space, getting anything 10% or higher is considered extremely successful, double digits in what I call the CX and marketing world. But that's self-service. So you really have to meet the customers where they want to be met. And our research shows that 52% of employers surveyed employees as part of this process. 38% have held employee focus groups to really get that input directly from them for employee engagement. And 32% have conducted a financial wellness assessment. And that is really critical for the program to be effective. And 42% of employees say they don't feel adequately informed about their employer's financial wellness benefits. So it really has to be a strong partnership between the employer and the provider.
Sharon, we're at the, in the 2020s now, we've got all this new technology. And I know you and the folks at Lincoln and quite frankly, others are trying to incorporate this new technology to evolve this digital ecosystem. Could you talk a little bit about how you take these technologies, evaluate them, and apply them?
Yes, definitely. So I talked about you need to first understand who is your customer. So I'll give you an example. We're redesigning the participant experience for the mobile app and the web later this year. And when we came up with our concepts and did usability testing, we actually mirrored our participant base. So we didn't do, for example, 50% female, 50% male, because we have 74% female in our population. And in addition to that, we had to look at really where our age cohorts are. So that's your persona. And then from there, you build out the voice of the customer that I talked about earlier. And you do that multiple times during the process. And that's important. You get the initial voice of the customer, you go back and iterate your designs, and then you go back and do that usability testing. And then we use data and metrics to measure the effectiveness of those programs. But that is a never-ending process. It's iterative and it's constant.
Yeah, and you mentioned your analytics team that is separate and distinct and looking through this, kind of parsing through this data. I have to think that somewhere is the use of artificial intelligence, and that's kind of a broad term that we just kind of just say, it's, whether it's the Terminator or just, a chatbot, right? I mean, that's how people kind of think about it. But you're really leveraging these newer technologies to help redefine and also personalize some of these experiences.
Yeah, and it's a good point calling out the artificial intelligence. I mean, that's part of the predictive modeling, right? So we can do all the data cuts we want, but really to follow that journey, you have to follow that customer and what they're actually doing, and then incorporate that feedback from the intelligence and feed it back into that ecosystem where that's part of the science behind the art.
Yeah, well, Sharon, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about what employers can do, and by the way, what financial professionals can do to assist with the financial wellness piece of the conversation. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking to Sharon Scanlon, Senior Vice President for Lincoln Financial Group. Sharon, thanks for staying with us again this morning.
Thanks. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Yeah, it's great to continue the conversation. And let's talk about where this employer fits in. You talked earlier in segment one about how you are you in particular, but Lincoln as a record keeper is really the hub. You have access to so much information. Where do the employers fit into this conversation about financial wellness?
Yeah, I said that earlier. They are critical to the success of this program to get adoption for their employees. We monitor, obviously, who's participating in the wellness program, and more importantly, what are they doing in the program, and what are their end results for driving their outcomes. The employers look at other benefit programs because we're not just measuring retirement savings, right? We're looking at protection, we're looking at debt, and other factors. So it gives the employer the opportunity to look at other benefit program participation rates as well to see if this tool or this program is helping to look at things like, buying up disability during open enrollment or buying up life insurance or even, critical illness insurance. And it's critical to have that baseline. So you want to survey as an employer before and after the launch of your program so we can, again, do more of what's working and then pivot where things are not resonating. And the other great part is when we have champions at the employer where they're talking to their employees and we can get their first person accounts of how the program is going.
Yeah. And when it comes to, you and I both live the request for proposal process, Sharon. When it comes to some of the questions that are being asked by employers to record keepers like Lincoln, what are some of those questions?
Well, the baseline is, do you have a financial wellness program and what are the components of it? You pointed out earlier that there's not a standard definition. I think we're getting better in the industry about what financial wellness is, but not everybody offers financial wellness at every touch point like Lincoln does. Mm-hmm. So it's really the opportunity to talk about it's not just the tool, right? It's how you implement that into your overall digital and high touch experience. We do get asked a lot about student loan programs, whether it's paying down debt through potential benefit design or whether it's refinancing. And we're starting to hear a bit more about emergency savings, but I believe that's still emerging. And as you know, there's legislation out there looking to address some of these things.
Yeah, a really good point. And hopefully we get a little bit further along because I think we've learned a lot through the pandemic that emergency savings matter, especially through short-term issues like staying at home and not being able to work. Let's talk about the plan advisor. The plan advisor has served a very important role as an independent fiduciary, someone kind of guiding the plan along with the record keeper, along with the employers about how to build a stronger and better plan. Where do they fit in terms of the conversation? Is it still talking about investment performance, or is it talking about outcomes? Where has that conversation shifted?
Yeah, I mean, it really has shifted, to be honest with you, through the financial professionals, particularly over the last few years. Really, those that are retirement plan practitioners are focused in on improving outcomes to help them bring to life their value proposition. So they want to work with providers that have robust services on that. There are still certain advisors that are certainly focused in on investment performance, but definitely driving outcomes for the specialist. We're seeing that, and we don't see that trend going away. And then also, the advisors are even more savvy about wellness solutions. So the ability for the employer to consult with advisors. We've answered financial wellness RFPs from the consultant and the financial professional community because they want to know who has what offerings, so that when they're going through a broader vendor search, they're equipped to understand the financial wellness programs and how they fit in with the employer that they're doing the search for. And it's really about the overall financial situation. Financial wellness for the financial professionals really gives them another tool in their toolkit to really take a holistic view from more of an education standpoint. And then for the advisor who does focus on these outcomes, through these tools and platforms, it's better understood how to get there. And it also builds rapport between the employer and the advisor.
Yeah, really, really important. And in terms of diversification as a business, I would think it'd be a pretty smart decision to kind of look beyond just the investments, look to all these a little bit more qualitative aspects of managing a retirement plan. I guess last question for you, Sharon. I think it's a big question: benchmarking. These are tools that are being created, but it's important not only to benchmark your investments, but benchmark the performance of services like financial wellness, like programs like financial wellness. How do you go about benchmarking and taking the data that you're collecting with the analytics team to make sure that you are on track and hitting your metrics?
It's a great question. I have a saying: if we can't measure it, then we shouldn't build it, and it shouldn't be a focus. So it's really about identifying those levers that are going to retain and result in a better plan health. And financial wellness, obviously, is a critical component, because if you have a financially healthy workforce, as you know, you get better productivity, better retention, and people that can retire on time. So what we've done in addition to that is we've built an employer and a financial professional experience with 7 key performance indicators that can be monitored real time. And it's benchmarked by plans like them. So for example, if you're going to look at retirement readiness or participation rates, government has a different benchmark than 401k. Looking at smaller employers versus larger employers, and even benchmarking on industry and gender. And we believe that. And it's really, again, I'll go back to, it's an iterative process. The benchmarking needs to be relevant to that plan sponsor as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think we go back to the personalization for the participant. It's a personalized experience for the employer as well, because that ecosystem, that population, differs from group to group and employer and or industry, et cetera. Well, Sharon, we're going to have to leave it there. Really enjoyed the great conversation on financial wellness and what you're doing at Lincoln to tackle that. And we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thanks again, Jeff. I'd love to come back.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. We're back again tomorrow, so until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited, and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.